Good morning. So the first word is exemplar. Exemplar means a typical or it's like exemplar means like an example. It's a typical or good example of something is known as exemplar. So the sentence for that is it is an exemplar of a house of the period. An exemplar of a house of that period. So we can say exemplar means example or model. So one more synonym is the for exemplar, that is
quintessence, quintessence, quintessence,
quintessence.
quintessence,
Quintessence.
quintessence,
Okay. Quintessence means it's like exemplar only. Prototype. Okay. He was the quintessence of political professionalism. Stereotype. So he was the quintessence of the political professionalism. So example, he was the example of political professionalism. Next word is archetype. So this is the sentence for exemplar, the first word which we studied. Handle with care how exemplars affect the perceived appeal and informativeness of news story. So exemplar has an influence. So next word is archetype.
Archetype.
Type. Like that it will come.
Archetype.
R will be silent. Archetype.
Archetype.
A typical example of something. So again this is a model, example, exemplar, quiescence which we studied now. The United States is the archetype of a federal society. Syncretic. Syncretic means combining different religious, cultures or idea, that is syncretism. Okay. The hybridization thesis argues that cultures incorporate elements from each other, generating syncretic forms of cultural life. So it's combining these ideas of cultures and religion. I think this is good example to understand. The idea is to incorporate the Taoists into a new syncretic center of unified Hindu, Buddhist and Tantric worship. Nevertheless, the new political program was essentially syncretic with demagogic and excessive ambitious idea. Next word is pillory. Pillory. Okay.
Hillary, Hillary,
Only one L and we can change this to E. Pillory.
Hillary,
Pillory means to severely criticize someone. Okay. So the word is pillory. Although regularly pilloried by the press as an obnoxious loudmouth, he is nonetheless an effective politician. So although regularly pilloried by the press as an obnoxious loudmouth, he is nonetheless an effective politician. Pillory. Disparage. So I had showed in a previous video disparage in news itself. The vocabulary is disparage in newspaper. So disparage means to criticize someone or something in a way that shows you do not respect, or it just means criticize someone. Okay, disparage. The actor's work for charity has recently been disparaged in the press as an attempt to get publicity. The actor's work for charity has recently been disparaged in the press as an attempt to get publicity. So the synonym is belittle. Okay, belittle. So it little we won't say belittle, T-A-L, belittle. Again that means criticism or downgrade. Okay. To make a person or action seem as if he or she is not important. Considering someone is not important, that is known as belittle. Considering that person as little. Okay. Though she had belittle. Okay, you can think.
Little. Little.
Belittle. Though she had spent hours fixing the computer, he belittled her efforts. Stop belittling yourself. Your work is highly valued. Stop belittling. She belittled Amy's writing skills whenever she could. She belittled Amy's writing skills whenever she could. Now slant. So slant has that vertical position, right? Not vertical, like that slope position, that is known as italic writing slants to the right. The evening sun slanted. Slanted means shone with light moving in a slope through the narrow window. Or you can say, often say, it's disapproving that. So to present information in a particular way. So that is known as, it's used as a disapproving statement. Okay, slant. The police claimed that reports in the media were slanted towards the defendant. Slandered, biased opinion. Okay, slanted against or towards the defendant. Now the car was parked. That is about position. The car was parked on a slant. The snow came down at a slant. Now it's like a particular way of showing or looking at something. That is, the book had a personal slant or political slant. Okay. Next word is coach. R is silent. Coach. Something or someone that causes great suffering or a lot of trouble. That is known as coach. The scourge of war. Severely suffering, right? Lot of trouble. The scourge of war, the scourge of poverty, the scourge of drugs. Pop-up ads have been described as the scourge of the internet. So that is a lot of trouble. Haven. It's not heaven. Okay.
Haven.
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 Okay. Heaven means it's like a peaceful place. Safe or peaceful place is known as haven. The garden was a haven from the noise and bustle of the city. They wanted to provide safe havens for the refugees. Evacuation. The act of evacuation is, right? Evacuation. Okay. Opposite. Somewhat like opposite. So evacuation, So at the time of disaster, there will be evacuation. So evacuation means the act of moving people to somewhere safe inside a building. Would you know how to carry out an evacuation or lockdown? Pupils will not be released to parents during invocation. Disaster planner penciled in an evacuation rehearsal at the bank's offices in Canary. Appeasement. Okay, the act of giving the opposite side in an argument or an advantage. So we are giving the opposite side an advantage that they have demanded in order to prevent further disagreement. So if there is a war, so we are providing what the other country needed. So as it act as an appeasement. Okay. When he agreed to talks with Prime Minister, he was accused of appeasement. A policy of appeasement is counterproductive with dictators. This is nothing more than appeasement of terrorist. So it was appeasement of terrorist. Opprobrium means
Opprobrium.
criticism.
Opprobrium.
Severe criticism is known as
Opprobrium.
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 So if you are under the grace of Jesus Christ, then there won't be, like, sin won't be your master. Thank you.